Greetings, Internet drinking buddies. My name is Link, the show's name is Tubbin and Chuggin, and on this episode, I'll be imbibing Aviation American Gin. Welcome back to the tub, everybody. Now, on this episode, I'll be continuing my Buzz for the Buck series, where I look at alcohols that are definitely more expensive than the well drinks, but aren't going to break the bank all that bad. Let's get started by taking a closer look at aviation. Aviation American Gin, or as I'll probably be calling it for the rest of the episode, simply Aviation, has been around since 2006 and is made by a company called House Spirits Distillery up in Portland, Oregon. But it gained much more notoriety when actor Ryan Reynolds purchased a stake of it in 2018 and became their spokesman. As a result, you may have seen it in either his or his wife's motion pictures. Now, Aviation is a spice-forward botanical selection as opposed to a more citrus one. So what that means is you're going to get emphasis on the juniper, the coriander, the cardamom, the anise seed, the lavender, the Indian sarsaparilla. Now, the dried orange peel is still one of their ingredients, but it's not as much of a focus as some other citrusy-based gins. It's distilled at 70% ABV and then diluted down to its bottled form of 42%. They get an extra 2% above the median 40. Price-wise, you can find this for somewhere in the mid-20s for a fifth. I believe they only make it in a fifth. It is a batch distilled. So that puts it at around $1.50 a drink. That's definitely not cheap, but as I said before, it's not as high as something like the really top-end ones, like a Hendrix or a Monkey 47 or some very limited runs of gin. Now, personally, I've made my way through a few bottles of Aviation. I received one as a gift about 2 years or so now, and generally prefer to drink it straight or use it as a base in a heavier gin cocktail like a martini or the drink that gin is named after, an Aviation. If you're going for something like a gin and tonic or a Tom Collins, I think it's a bit of a waste. You can achieve a similar taste for those types of cocktails with a cheaper gin. You can see on Aviation's website they kind of rank their recommended cocktails by flight class. For the shot glass today, sadly my trip to Portland was put on hold due to the COVID situation. As a result, I don't have a Portland shot glass. I do, however, have a Lockheed Martin shooter. Given that they're an aviation company, I think it works well enough. So all that out of the way, let's get to the toast. Ad Astra. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hold on. So there's something about Aviation gin that tastes different than a gin you may have had before, like maybe you've had like a Bombay Sapphire, maybe you've had, you know, a very lower kind of tier gin, just something cheap. You had it and you were like, wow, that tastes terrible. I do not understand this. Then you have Aviation, and when I talked in the Stoli video about how Stoli is kind of like a Smirnoff but better, it's what you would expect from a typical cheaper vodka but better, Aviation is different. It's still gin, don't get me wrong, but the botanical focus of it really brings out a more botanical taste. I'm trying to think of a better way to describe it. Let me try to have another sip. So it doesn't give you that initial burn that I think most gins do, and that puts people off of gin. Instead, the burn is more of a slow burn that kind of creeps down your throat. It stays in your throat for a while, but it's a taste that's good. You know, it's not a bad taste. It's not a quick burn you're trying to get out of the way. It's a slow burn that you're trying to enjoy. So the lingering flavor stays with you for a longer time, and that's why I recommend sipping it or using it. You know, a martini is what, 2.5 ounces gin, a half ounce of vermouth, and just like a dash of bitters, maybe like an orange peel. So it's basically all gin, and that's the kind of drink that you can really get the full experience out of the gin with. That's why I said earlier, you know, you put this in a gin and tonic, which is a very watered down beverage. You're not going to really experience the full profile of it. So I really do think it needs to be sipped in order to be enjoyed. So good, man. It's one of my favorite alcohols. And honestly, if you haven't had a gin you've liked before, I do recommend giving this one a shot. Because it really is a different experience than you may be used to. The difference also means that if you like your gin a certain way, you may be disappointed in the overly botanical taste here of the Aviation, but I do really recommend trying it if you haven't. It is expensive. It's the kind of drink I would always recommend people to have at a bar first. And like, they try Aviation, they're like, wow, it's really good. I want to get a bottle of it because there's no way I'm paying $14, $15 for whatever they're offering for it. I'll just get a full fifth of it. Not as easy to do now, obviously. Bit of a harder sell in this current pandemic situation, but you gotta trust me on this one. This is really, really, really good stuff, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. But in the meantime, as always, please let me know if there's any other alcohols you'd like me to review. Continue either in this series, back to my well series, what have you. And as always, please drink responsibly.